All right, welcome everyone. Today we are going to talk about consistency. We all know consistency is important, but how do we actually do it? I feel like we all could use a little bit more consistency in our lives, but a lot of us are approaching it in not the right way. There is a force-based way to approach consistency, one where you're constantly beating yourself up, where you're never enough, where you're not actually being consistent. And there is a flow-based way of consistency. And I'm going to talk about 7 practical tips that you can use to be more consistent in 2026 so you can make this your most consistent year yet. I'm Jason Krause, by the way. I'm a personal development coach. I help people become who they want to be in the world. And I'm here to help you create the habits, the mindsets, and the beliefs that allow you to be the most consistent version of you. What we're going to do is talk about these 7 tips. I'm going to explain some of the things where people go wrong when it comes to being consistent. Let's get into it. Tip number 1, get good sleep. Get good sleep. Being consistent starts with your ability to sleep well. And a lot of people, they think about waking up early. Well, here's the truth. Where you want to focus your attention is going to bed early. Go to bed, set your house so that your lights turn red at night. Set your mood, set your living environment to wind down early. Go to bed consistently, but develop a consistent sleep hygiene that allows your body to know that sleep is coming. Here, I want to share a breathing tip for you if you're in the position where you're lying in bed and you want to ensure that you basically get knocked out. And it is very simple. I learned this from a Navy SEAL. And the way that it goes is this. You breathe in for 4 counts, hold for 7 counts, and then release for 8. So this is the 4-7-8 breathing technique. If you repeat this 6 times, you will, within a matter of a few minutes, not remember and wake up the next day feeling rested. This is a real hack that you can use. I use it almost every single night. The idea, by the way, is that you want to almost feel a little bit dizzy, a little bit lightheaded. Don't knock yourself out, don't pass out. But if you're starting to feel dizzy or lightheaded or feel like the urge to breathe, that is the carbon dioxide buildup in your body. When there's a carbon dioxide buildup, that allows you to process oxygen a lot better and it really allows you to actually relax. So if it's a little bit uncomfortable, that's okay. You can do it while you're in bed and you will get a great night's sleep. I promise you. Also, stop being on your phone before bed, cut off screens, read a book. Like I said, no overhead lights. So when you have overhead lights signal to the retina that it is daytime. So it hits the bottom of the sensors in your retina and actually signals to your body that it is daytime. So cut out the overhead lights. Getting good sleep is essential for how you show up in the world. I know when I don't get good sleep, I'm cranky. And people that can claim to not get good sleep, I don't believe are the ones who are being the most consistent in the world. Often when my students come to me, they will have a list of reasons why they're not consistent and why there's something wrong with them. And they almost come in with this mentality that they don't actually deserve to get good sleep or that they don't actually deserve to have a good life. When maybe it's the fact that you're not actually setting yourself up for success. Maybe it's the fact that you're not actually loving yourself enough so that you can show up as you know you can be. And I really think that that's the truth. And I really think that that's going to do a lot for you in 2026. Nail your sleep, go to bed early, cut off the lights, no overhead lights, use red lights, cut off the screen time, and use that breathing technique I just showed you. Number 2, we focus so much on consistency of action, but we overlook consistency of mindset. And I would argue that consistency of mindset is much more important than consistency of action, at least in the process of getting started. Here's the deal. When you have a consistent mindset, consistent action follows. When you are operating in a flow-based way, when you're operating with ease, when you're operating with harmony and alignment within yourself, when you are not fighting yourself, when there's not internal friction, that's when you're able to show up consistently. You might have had the experience of forcing yourself to do something that you don't want to do. Like, I need to go to the gym. I need to do this. I need to do that. And you might have had one or two things happen. One, you were only able to do it for a couple weeks and then it totally fizzled out. Then, that thing just sort of ended and died. Or you were able to do that one thing, but it became the only thing. Like you became the gym person who's just like, oh, I must go to the gym every day at 5 a.m. And yet you're not actually living the life that you really want. And you've relied on this part of your identity. And I think it's actually a really good thing and shows that you can expand this, but there is a mindset piece that you need to master if you want to reach your potential, if you want to be the most fully expressed version of who you can be. And it is learning how to have a flow-based mindset. It's learning how to, when you're at war with yourself, rather than forcing yourself into a particular situation, is actually coming up with a flow-based game plan. And how do you actually do that? I want to keep this practical for you. When we have parts of us who disagree, when we have parts of us who want to do one thing or want to do another, let's just say part of me wants to go get ice cream and part of me wants to go clean the kitchen. If I become someone who just constantly chooses one or the other, we can imagine how my life would go. If I'm only choosing to get ice cream all the time, I'm not going to have a very successful or very happy life. And if I'm always delaying gratification, I'm never really going to be satisfied or enjoy my time here on earth. And I think both of those things are important when it comes to ultimately being as consistent as possible. And so how does this actually work? Well, number one, you need to actually release the feeling of force. You're holding that in your body. You need to learn how to surrender. You need to learn how to breathe. You need to learn how to relax. Number two, you need to learn how to listen to these parts. Listen to the part. Observe the part. Feel the part who wants the ice cream. Listen to the part. Feel the part who wants to clean the kitchen. Here's the path for you, is start to create an environment within yourself of internal collaboration and not fighting. This is a much bigger topic and I have plenty of videos about this. You can check those out. Step number 3 towards being consistent in 2026 is listening to yourself. This is related to the concept that I was just sharing about. You don't listen to yourself. You bully yourself. You talk at yourself, but you don't actually learn how to listen to what's happening within you. You've cut off your ability to hear your intuition. You've cut off your ability to listen to what you think might be best. And so as a result, you're living a life that is very disconnected from who you are as a human being. I like to bring back this idea of animals. And, you are a human animal. Sure, you have the mind. Sure, you have intellect. But we have become so disconnected from ourselves as human animals, as human mammals, as humans walking this earth. We're thinking so much in our thinking mind, but we're not actually listening to the signals of our body. And when we start to listen to the signals of our body, that's when we're able to make sustainable change. That's when we're able to show up consistently, because listening to the signals of your body will always lead you in the path of your highest self. It might not make sense in the moment. It might not be clear in the moment why something is the way that it is, and that does require a degree of self-trust. But listening to yourself is the pathway to consistency. You might not like it. You might prefer to listen to what society tells you. You might prefer to listen to what your parents tell you. You might prefer to listen to what friends tell you or what pop culture tells you. But here's the deal. You are the one that you need to be listening to. When you start listening to yourself, that's when everything else changes. That's when you can ride your own intrinsic motivation. That's when showing up consistently becomes not a punishment, but a joyful process. When your experience shifts from torture and punishment to joy and a positive experience, it becomes infinitely easier to show up consistently. The number 4 thing that you need to do to be more consistent in 2026 is say the word no. If you're like me, you learned that saying the word no was somehow hurtful. Like that saying no could really upset someone, and it would be better to just say yes and go along with something than to say no. You might have learned that saying no meant to lead to arguments, would lead to fights, would lead to a lot of unsafety. You might have learned that saying no meant that you're someone who's mean or inconsiderate about others, or that you're selfish. I'm here to tell you that none of those things are true. You are allowed to say no. In fact, it's actually required if you want to be consistent in 2026. Saying no ought to be one of the most common words that you use. In my relationship with my wife, we tell each other no multiple times every single day. We're constantly asking each other for stuff and constantly saying no. Not every single time. Sometimes we say yes when it's a yes. I have a student who said, it occurs to me that you can't really say yes until you're comfortable saying no. Now, I'll repeat that. He said, you can't really say yes until you're comfortable saying no. I heard Jordan Peterson say, you cannot be a good man unless you're a dangerous man. He would say, you cannot be a good man unless you have the capacity to be bad. Otherwise, you are just weak. You cannot really say yes to life. You cannot really show up powerfully if you don't feel powerful enough to say no, to hold a boundary, to hurt someone's feelings in the moment, but do so with compassion and consideration and the deepest love that, yes, I hear you. Yes, I understand. Yes, I really understand the ask. Yes, I love you. But the answer is no. I also said one time that no is a complete sentence. It doesn't require an explanation. It doesn't require you to explain why you're doing it. You don't owe anyone anything. A no is a no, and it's allowed to be a no. No, that's not in flow for me. No, thank you. Thank you, but no, thank you. These are things that you can say to people. And if you want me to give more examples of this, just let me know in the comments. Number 5, you need to learn how to be patient. If you want to be consistent in 2026, you need to learn how to be patient with yourself. You are going to make mistakes. You are not going to be consistent in 2026. You are going to set your sights for something beyond that which you can do. It's natural, it's human, it's ambitious. And I love that for you. But the problem is that you're using that as evidence to show that you're not far enough along. And so you keep yourself stuck in these mindsets, in these mind frames where you are never where you're supposed to be. And what does that do for you? You have learned how to build your persona based on shame. You've learned how to build who you are as a man, as a woman, as a person based on shame, based on not being enough as you are. And so you're seeking all this accomplishment out in the external world, and it's never quite satisfying you in the way that you think that it should. And that's because it's coming from the wrong place. It's coming from a place of lack. It's coming from a place of scarcity of love. It's coming from a place of I'm not worthy. It's coming from a place of I'm not lovable. It's coming from a place of if I don't perform, I don't deserve love. And all of this results in an impatience. You are impatient with yourself. You view yourself rather than as a work in progress, but as someone who's supposed to be perfect. The problem is that perfectionistic part of you doesn't have a full grasp on reality. That perfectionistic part of you has helped you in many ways, sure. But when you allow it to be the decider, the arbiter of your own truth, that's when you're setting up yourself for spiritual failure. And spiritual failure is the enemy of consistency. So what you need is to learn how to be patient with yourself. You need to learn how to be forgiving to yourself. You need to learn how to miss your goals one day and come back the next day and gently show up again. Not turn it into another battle against yourself, not turn it into more evidence as to how you're a piece of shit, not turn it into another angry tirade where you're going to force yourself and yell at yourself until you do the thing. Because those things might help you in little areas, but when we think about who you really want to be in this world and what that consistency means across all aspects of your life, your relationship with God, your relationship with your woman or your husband, your work, your career, your purpose, your mission, your friendships, your community, you cannot afford to be so critical with yourself. You cannot afford to be so impatient with yourself. I had a mentor once tell me, after I explained to him that I said some horrible things to this woman that I was dating, I was upset, I was frustrated, I said all this stuff, and I thought that he was going to come down on me with judgment. And he just said, you know what, Jason, you're a work in progress, just like all of us. And I had never received that amount of compassion in my life. I had never felt like it was okay to make mistakes and move forward. The truth is, that's how you have evolved to be. When you look at shame, the way that shame has evolved within tribal evolution is that if you did something that would threaten the health or success or longevity of a tribe, shame evolved to help align your actions with the group. In those dynamics, however, there is an abundance of love. It wasn't a consistent shaming. You weren't meant to stay stuck in shame. You weren't meant to build an operating system based on shame. You were meant to have shame to steer your actions in the right direction and then come back to love and play and music and dancing and hunting and fishing and doing all the things that we're meant to do as humans, enjoying our time here on Earth on this beautiful planet. And so you have lost sight of that. And it's okay. I lost sight of that too. And I see a lot of people lose sight of this. But what we get to do is we get to come back. We get to come back to this place of patience. We get to come back to this place of forgiveness, of compassion, of a willingness to start fresh right now. And that is the place that is going to do more for you than beating yourself up, than discipline hacks, than trying to wake up at 5 a.m. and trying to force yourself to be something because you think that it means something about you. This is the process towards being consistent in 2026, and I want you to do it. And if you need more support in this, just let me know. I can explain more about this or make more videos on it. Your number 6 tip for being consistent in 2026 is to set yourself up for success. What I mean by that is this. You need to set up your workspaces for success. You need to leverage a calendar system. You need to leverage task management system. You need to create flow in your life. You need to set yourself up to be consistent. You need to take care of yourself. You need to not only sleep well, you need to eat well. You need to take care of the spaces in which you're going to operate. You need to create a home where you can feel grounded. You need to spend time in spaces where you feel at peace, where you feel at ease. You need to take care of yourself. Invest in mentorships. Invest in yourself. Take care of who you are. This is such an overlooked thing. We often tell ourselves that we will do that once we deserve it. We'll take care of ourselves once we've accomplished enough. But what happens? We struggle, we struggle, we struggle, we struggle, we struggle. We finally accomplish the thing that we were hoping to maybe accomplish one day, finally accomplish it, and immediately we're on to the next thing. And I'm not saying that accomplishment is bad. I'm not saying that working hard is bad. Those are essential things and they're really fun parts of this experience. But if you are constantly looking outside of yourself for joy, outside of yourself for peace, outside of yourself for playfulness, outside of yourself for worthiness and acceptance, I'm here to tell you that you're probably never going to find it. You might find it for a moment. You might find it for a flash, but I just don't think you're going to see it in the long term. And I heard Scottie Scheffler, world #1 golfer, talking about this. He was being interviewed before he played in the Open Championship. And they asked him, how important it is for you to win this. And he said, quite frankly, it's not that important. My life is not going to be that much more different. I'm going to celebrate for a couple minutes, and then it's back to my wife, back to my kids, back to my life. I am not really going to be changed by winning this tournament. And a lot of people took that the wrong way. A lot of people were completely thrown off by that idea. But it is the truth. For anyone who's accomplished anything big, they'll often tell you, it doesn't do everything that you thought it would when you don't have it. And so it's this idea of chasing something that's outside of ourselves that's never going to leave us feeling satisfied in the deepest of ways. And so what he had learned how to do was set himself up for success by letting himself know that win or lose, he's still loved by his family. Win or lose, he's still going to show up. He's still going to do the things that he believes are right for him. And this is what we have the opportunity to do on a daily basis. We have the opportunity to listen to ourselves, listen to God, listen to the flow, listen for inspiration about how we want to show up, and allow ourselves to do that. Travel, stretch yourself. Even if it doesn't feel like you deserve it, it may be that you need that thing in order to do the thing that you really want, not the other way around. So take care of yourself, set yourself up for your success, give yourself the things that you need, build systems around your life that allow you to thrive. Take care of yourself as if you were a precious being, because you are. And I say that not in a cheesy way, not in a corny way, but who else would you be? You've got love written on your heart. You have a mission written on your heart. You have a purpose being here. You wouldn't be listening to this type of video if you weren't. So what's it going to be, man? Are you willing to give yourself the thing that you actually need in order to be that man, in order to be that woman, in order to be that person? Because I get the sense that you are doing what you're doing because you're not actually ready for the thing that you think you want, because you're actually afraid. You're afraid of success. You're afraid of failure. You're afraid of being seen. You're afraid of putting yourself out there. And so you do this thing called just beating yourself up over and over, which is actually a big strategy to just keep yourself stuck. So if you want to be consistent in 2026, set yourself up for success. And my final tip number 7 for the most consistent year of your life is surround yourself with consistent people. Find community. Put yourself in community wherever possible. So many of us are wired, because we saw it growing up, to isolate ourselves when things get hard, to distract ourselves when things get hard, to focus on other things when things get hard, to busy ourselves when things get hard, to do anything but face the difficult things. And it's totally understandable, and it's totally viable, and it's totally okay. It's just not helping you be consistent in 2026. And so what you need to do is start surrounding yourself with people who naturally lift you up. When you do this, all of the internal conversations that you're having about yourself will melt away. You're not designed to be on your own. You're designed to thrive in community. And creating community, I think, is one of the most important things that you can do for yourself, especially if you're someone who's kind of hardwired to try and figure things out on your own and do everything on your own. So I really hope that you go out and implement these tips. If you have any questions about them, let me know in the comments. Let me know which one you are most focused on in 2026. I hope this is the best year yet. Love you guys. See you soon.